This is the story of George's life told in photos by me, his eldest son Anthony. George's family originated in England, and pictured here is George's grandfather's birth certificate. You'll notice that his name was George also, and Dad was named after him. George Guest, his grandfather, accompanied Donald Ivor Guest, his father, to Australia from Aston Manor in England in the 1920s. Dad was born in Rockdale, and at the time the family lived at 106 Bruce Street, Brighton, Les Sands. Ethel, his mum, originated from Lithgow. Pictured here is Dad's family history, which Dad passed on to us children. Dad loved this photo of Dirty Dick Cave on the Warrenoi River. Top left is his father, Donald Guest, and on his left, his brother Roland Guest, and in the foreground, his grandfather. A lovely photo of George being held by his mum, Ethel Guest. George's father bought this lovely Oldsmobile from the Royal Leicester Show, and Dad is proudly sitting in the driver's seat. Here you can see Dad playing with a tugboat that his father built for him on the spare waterfront block at Sylvania. This photo shows Gawley Bay looking over to Tomugli's Bridge, where Dad and the family lived. He loved growing up on the water and everything associated, including fishing. In this photo, George is pictured in the middle. You can also see this photo, Dad pictured with his cousin Vic Campbell. Ducks of Sylvania Primary, Dad was selected to attend Sydney Boys High School from 1950 to 1956. He represented them in rowing and also Cox teams to victory there. Dad was also involved in athletics and won the CHS High Jump Championship. In this photo, Dad is in the bottom right-hand corner whilst he was serving his national service in the army at Singleton. During this time, he also did boxing, which he really enjoyed. Lovely photo of Dad and his mum Ethel at graduation from UNSW, where he attended 1957 to 1962 and completed a Bachelor of Architecture with distinction. From 1962 to 1974, Dad was employed by Grousman Pty Limited as a senior architect and worked on some amazing and iconic projects such as the house that is shown here. Great photo of Dad, bottom left, working at Grousman Pty Limited. Here are some photos of George with his family at some important family events. This photo shows his beloved Depot Beach, where the family had a holiday house. George and Nola started their own family, and Dad was kept busy with two boys, Anthony and Martin. And boy was he happy when Rachel came along. In 1974, Dad left Grousman Pty Limited to pursue architecture overseas, mainly in North America and Canada. We also did a holiday in Europe, London and Portugal. Dad surfed in Ericeira, Portugal, which today is considered the surfing capital of Europe. At that time, it was little known, and his mates Steve and Jeff Watson published an article in the famous Tracks magazine. Back then, Dad surfed on a stand-up surfboard, but then progressed to a spoon, a Nilo. On to London, and there is a picture of Dad who was very interested in making kites. We made this gigantic kite and it flew in a park in London, and you can see a picture coming up. Just absolutely amazing, and it soared into the sky almost a kilometre. It was unbelievable and nearly pulled me off the ground at my age of 8. In this great photo, pictured on the left is my mum, Nola, and George is on the right, with friends in London. What an amazing shot. Back to Australia, Dad continued his love of the water and is pictured here with family members at Depot Beach. After we returned from overseas in 1974, Dad set up his own architectural private practice. He was also a key leader and regular member of St Mark's Church of Sylvania. Pictured here is a sketch he did of St Mark's, Sylvania for their 75th anniversary. George was a committed son to Ethel and supported her move to Jacaranda Nursing Home, visiting her often and helping her through her advanced Alzheimer's. This is a photo of Dad and I, which I love. Dad married Elizabeth in 1986 and welcomed a much larger family. Both Dad and Elizabeth loved the outdoors, and Dad would often take us on adventures into the bush, and we would often be following him for hours through trails. You can see him hard at work on the map here. Dad was always making jokes and finding a reason to smile, something that was with him for all of his life. Dad and Elizabeth also had the opportunity to visit Scotland and visit places associated with both their heritages. The following are a series of photos of Dad enjoying time with his children. Following the tragic death of Elizabeth in December 1997, George met and fell in love with Carol. George's trademark smile returned and he lived many years of happiness and fulfilling years with Carol. The happiness continued with his kids, Carol and extended family. George remained friends with many of his colleagues from his early architectural days, and this photo shows him with Graham and Trish Braun in Melbourne. Sadly, Dad developed Alzheimer's, and as his illness progressed, he was no longer able to live at home. These photos show the happy times he had at Hammond Care, Miranda, where he lived until he passed away. Here are some special items and memories from Dad's life. Dad's surfboard, a spoon, was modelled on a George Greenough and completely see-through. He especially loved surfing at his holiday place in Depot Beach. The cars Dad owned were an International, a Renault R4, a Renault Fuego, and a Ford Falcon pictured with kayaks on top. He loved diving for abalone, rock lobsters, and also enjoyed spearfishing near Depot Beach. Pictured here is a beautiful shingled log cabin that was designed by Dad and built with his good friend John O'Brien at Safala near the goldfields. An awarded architect and particularly well known in the Shire and for his work with the council, here are some of the amazing homes he designed. I remember Dad loving his cakes and particularly his coffee. Here are a couple of photos of him enjoying a cup. In fact, the last time I saw Dad, a couple of weeks before he passed, I took him a coffee and a cake, which brought a big smile. He was so happy and talkative on that day. This is a very happy memory for me. In his final years, Dad enjoyed so much singing at Hammond Care. No matter how or from when you remember Dad, I'm sure you'll always remember that smile and that laugh.